Good morning and welcome back to Miniature Monday here on Gaming with ADHD. Today we're going to be taking a look at Operation Blackwind for Infinity, specifically Code 1. Now, Infinity does come in two different versions. There's Infinity and there's Infinity Code 1. Code 1 is designed as a more streamlined, easier entry point into the game before you move on to the full rules later. Now, this is the third of the Code 1 starter sets that were preceded by Operation Caldstrom and Operation Crimson Stone. You can always tell an Infinity starter set because it's going to have Operation something in the title. But this particular one, it was released in 2022 at Gen Con. It contains models from the Aleph and Haqquislam factions, which at this point, I believe all factions are represented in Infinity Code 1. So, what we're going to do is we're going to open it up, take a look at the contents. I'm not going to look at the miniatures in specific. Corvus Belli is really good at showing off the unassembled models on their launch weeks. And so I'm going to skip that portion. We'll take a little bit of a look at them. I'll let you know what I kind of think of the models so far, but we're not going to get into like looking at them in detail. I'll do that later once I have them assembled and painted. Don't hold your breath for that though. But we're also going to look at the contents, what you receive, and what I think of it as a starter set. But before we get into that, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I do try to put out a few videos each week covering all sorts of tabletop gaming content. And while I don't cover Infinity as often as I would like, it is one that I am wanting to do a lot more content for. So do make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any of that. Also, there will be a link down below to our new Facebook page. And so make sure you're subscribed there as well, so that whenever I put out a new video, you'll be able to see it. But with that said, let's go ahead and open up the box, see what we get inside, and I'll let you know what I think of it as a starter set. All right, so first off, this is our box. Now, it is a little bit larger than my infamously small recording space. So it's about an A5 size, so European book size as opposed to US sized, but that's perfectly fine. We've got some art of our Haqquislam troopers and Aleph, and in this case, this is the pre-order version that does have an exclusive high-value target. Now, high-value targets are used in the game basically when you need an objective, so you have to rescue a hostage or kidnap the ambassador or whatever it is. So they don't have stats usually. They are just there as placeholders and to look cool. It's also a good fun excuse for Corvus Belli to make some models that wouldn't otherwise get made. So I like collecting those as well. All right, so we have our cardboard box. Now I kind of like this. In the past, they've actually just slid everything into the box. This time they actually give you a sturdier box to keep everything in. We've got our rule booklet and all of the goodies you can see in there. If I could open this, as I've said multiple times, this is nothing but a professional operation. So keep that in mind. All right, so we get our introductory rulebook. Overall, Corvus Belli has been pretty good with these booklets as far as teaching people how to play the game. So they give you a little bit of background about the story. It is 180 years into the future. I actually kind of like how they did that, where they haven't given a specific date in the future. It's 180 years from now. So, it can change with time. A little bit of background on the faction. So we've got Haqquislam, a description of the Haqquislam troops, and then some color palettes for how you could possibly paint your troops. So usually Haqquislam is like kind of a brown and green, but obviously there are plenty of alternatives if you want them. We then have Aleph. Now, Aleph are the forces of the human artificial intelligence that kind of controls everything. So are we controlled by the AI? Did Skynet actually take over? We just think we're in charge? I don't know. But then we have examples of the Aleph troops that we get in the box. Remainder, and then again, some art scheme. So typically they're like a light gray and purple. Nice to see some different options, the greens and blues. I really like this blue option. I'm going to zoom in on that because I can. I like that. Just a little bit of highlight, but then mostly just blacks, grays, whites, and a little bit of blue trim. Might end up having to go with that one. So I will admit, I am usually overwhelmed by paint schemes because I'm not that good a painter. All right, then we get the story of Operation Blackwind. What's happening? Why is it going? As I've said many times on video, is I love when there's a good story. So they always put in some sort of story. In the past, Operation Haqquislam, they actually even put out, I would say, specialized models because Operation Haqquislam was happening in the snow, and so actually all of the figures had parkas and extra cold weather gear, so it was actually kind of an interesting alternative to the regular Pan-Oceania models that you got in that set. But that's an old set that's no longer available, so let's look at the new stuff. Anyway, so we get Operation Blackwind. We then break into the mission. So in this case, you just have a couple of models, and basically what you're doing in this mission is you're going to learn how to move, and you're going to learn how to read the unit profile. So this is the unit profile right here. Movement, close combat, ballistic skill, physical skill, willpower, armor, biotechnological shield, wounds, and silhouette. So the actual size of the model is very important in this game. You'll actually see that as we look at some of the tokens. Now, everything in this box is going to be size level 2. Sometimes in the starter boxes, they'll actually include, silhouette number 4, I believe. So they'll put in some larger models from time to time, but not always. So just keep that in mind. And then they also list out what weapons they have. So like I said, they're basically going to teach you how to move, how to make some basic rolls with this mission. How to issue your orders. So breaking down a lot. Here's your layout for your first mission. We then have mission 2, which is going to add in more shooting and more units. So you get new unit profiles to add into your game. Mission 3, again. So they keep adding rules as you play through the missions to help you learn how to play the game, which it's a tried and true method with miniatures games. You want to get in, you want to start playing. So here's some missions. Simple rules, get going. Mission 4. Mission 5. I really like this. Lots of art, lots of diagrams. And then they also go to Beyond Operation Blackwind. Now, all of the starter sets, so you have your Operation box, and then you have your Beyond box. The starter sets will come with 7 models per side. The Beyond box will bring that up to 10 models per side, which in Code 1 is the maximum number of models that you can bring. Or I should say units, not necessarily models. And then they also have the breakdown of what is available for each faction. So that is the rulebook. Overall, I've been very happy with these in the past. I think, while Infinity is a very complicated game, especially with the switch over to Cold 1, I think this is a nice entry point for beginners. All right, back to our box. Okay, so we have... let's do it this way. Ha! Figuring out how to not let my desk get in the way. All right, so you do get 3 dice for each faction, which is basically what you're going to need. They are not super fancy, but they are standard 20-sided dice with the... As I'm losing dice on the floor. All right. They do have the faction symbol. Now, this is on the 1, okay? Yes, as gamers, we would like this to be on the 20 so that when our faction symbol comes up, it's cool. And yeah, we know we got a 20, but Infinity actually plays a little different. You want low rolls. But 1 is also automatically a failure. Actually, I don't think it is automatically a failure. Don't quote me on that. I'm sorry. But it is also making it easier for newer players. I have made custom dice in the past for friends, and they weren't as big of gamers as me, and so I always put the custom information on the 1 side, so that way, when they rolled a 6, they knew they rolled a 6. They didn't have to question it. Anyways, but again, these are the Aleph dice. Fairly plain. They are white. And then we have the Haqquislam dice. Kind of a brownish yellow with the crescent on the 1. So there's that. And then give you all of the bases for your models. I will actually not be using these because I use sculpted ones, but these are actually nice because they do give you markings on the sides and on the front so that you know which direction your model is facing. That actually is important in a game of Infinity, so there's that. We then have all of our models, which... Let's take a look at this guy. All right, so this is why I am not going to go through all of the models, because you're not going to be able to see a lot of the detail very well. But as you can see, they are pewter. There is lots of detail, but be careful. They are fine. They are delicate. They do not always have the best joins. So Infinity absolutely is a game where your modeling skills are going to be put to the test, even for your basic models. Yes, it would be nice if everybody could be Games Workshop and put out these super highly engineered plastic models, but pewter is cheap and easy to get started with. So I don't think that is a bad decision on Corvus Belli's part. All right. Now, this does all come in a plastic tray to hold it. Actually, let's take a look at this one real quick. Since you won't see this on the website, this is the pre-order bonus figure, hence why there's a base in the bag. All right, let's focus. So again, you can see very fine, very delicate. This arm is super thin and has a tiny little bead with which to pin the arm in. We've got a separated leg, and then we've got this little thing. Like, communication box, whatever that is. Anyway, overall, it's not required for play. I mean, outside of a scenario that will need a high value target, but they're, like I said, they're mostly for fun in order to, you know, be able to use those objectives. All right, now, this is one of my favorite parts of these starter sets. If you look around on my channel, you'll see that I have done reviews of all of the other terrain sets in the operations boxes. And starting with Operation Wildfire, which was the last 3rd edition starter set, they've moved to this terrain, which is honestly fantastic. It is cardboard. You do have to assemble it, but it is very heavy duty. There are a couple issues I do have with it. I'll repeat a lot of those here since this is going to be a lot of your first time seeing the channel, but it is what it is. Anyway, so you have a image of all of the terrain that you're going to get. You get 2 small buildings, 2 large buildings, and some different barricades, hollow signs, terminals. You know, so you get a little bit of battlefield accessories, and then they have the instructions on how to assemble them. Now, this is where my biggest complaint comes in. They are not the easiest to assemble. They will assemble, it will work, but you have to sort of force some of the tabs into some of the slots, and they don't make it very easy, and some of them you're going to have to gently flex the cardboard in order to get it into position. I like the end result, but they sell this because are telling you that it's double-sided. So if you want to swap it around, you can. But to be honest with you, build it and leave it alone. It is not going to hold up to repeated assembly and disassembly to switch it over to the other art style. But with that said, I believe these are sold separately for about $30. So if you like this terrain, you can get it very cheaply and just get a second set. I have not done it yet, but I'm also on my 3rd Code 1 starter set, and so I have a lot of it now. They will also eventually release an expansion terrain set that has towers, bridges, some other buildings. So overall, I really do like it, even with the understanding that there are problems with assembly, and you have to be very careful so that you don't break the cardboard while you're trying to put it together. But follow the instructions, make sure that it's all lined up properly, and you will be able to get it together, even if you have to kind of, force it, as it were. All right, so you do get a playmat. This is, I'm going to guess, the planet Darpan. So you have a little bit of terrain. It's not really terrain, so it won't affect the actual gameplay. You have an O12 landing pad and some more. So basically it looks the same on each side. Do keep in mind that it is a starter set. So they give you that. That is your starter set play area. It is 24 by 32 inches. So it is not full size. Typical size of an infinity table is going to be 4 feet by 4 feet. So it is quite a bit smaller. But again, it is designed for intro games. All right, so let's take a look at the art on this terrain. So first off, I am already enjoying this. It has a very, I'm going to call it an industrial look, even though I don't think that's very accurate. I would call it a well-used science fiction terrain. So it's not sterile like Star Trek. It's not broken down and rough and tumble like Star Wars. So it's used probably closer to like The Expanse, but I really like the look. The text is very clear. You have markings for different factions. Warning signs, no entry, biosecurity system, biohazard. So the art actually looks, this is interesting. So typically they've done very different art on both sides. This is basically the same art. So your buildings are going to look very much alike, even though they're in different configurations. Because when you flip to the other side, basically you're going to build the building in reverse. So it's still going to look the same. I think it's nice, but it's also a little disappointing. Like this, I mean, that kind of makes it so that I don't want to buy an extra set, where I would buy an extra set of the other terrain, so that I could have both sides of the art showing. Bad call, Corvus Belly, because that means I'm not spending as much. But we'll see. Again, more of the same, but very detailed. You can see the pipes and the manifolds. Overall, I mean, it's more of the same as far as the quality of their art. But Corvus Belly doesn't really skimp on any of that. All right, so this is one of the hollow boards that I was talking about earlier. Mines Corp and Bashair Velocity. It's like some sort of racing game. Maybe that's a preview of the next side game they're gonna do. I don't know. Let's zoom back out. All right, we then get some of our tokens. This is going to be a support for the consoles. We then have different tokens: prone, camo, flamer templates. This will pop out, so you have a small and a large version, which I don't believe are actually used in the intro game, but this way you at least have the correct size templates. These are the silhouette markers that I was talking about. So S1, S4, S5, S3, S4, S3. So these are all double-sided. We then have more tokens. These are your consoles. Some scenarios will require, you have to go and activate a console. So you're trying to turn on an antenna array or something like that. So those are options. Supply crates, order tokens, camo tokens, wound markers, lieutenant orders. You do have to specify a model as the lieutenant. Basically, it means who's in charge of the unit. So who's the commander on the board. I think that's just a general token. It says something in Greek that I can't read. But again, double-sided. We've got more of the building pieces. So, again, a little disappointing that they don't have different art on both sides. I'm not sure why they made that choice. But, I mean, obviously it's cheaper because they're only having to design half of the art. So that is everything that you're going to get inside Operation Blackwind. Now, what do I think of it as a starter? So first off, I am a little bit disappointed, as I said. Disappointed in the fact that the art on the buildings is essentially the same. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit different because it is, going to be, different orientation. But the fact that you don't get two distinct styles of art is a bit of a letdown. Like I said, normally I would be wanting to get a second set of these. I don't necessarily care to at this point. I will absolutely get the expansion set because I think those are great, but I'm not going to buy two of them. As far as the factions, I'm partial to Aleph, but I do like the kind of gritty look to Haqquislam. Although, personally, my preferred faction is the Japanese. So, regardless, we like having the factions. We like having the different models available. Overall, I don't have any issues with this set. It is the current starter set, so while you may be able to find Kaldstrom or Crimson Stone still out in the wild at your local game shop, that doesn't mean they're necessarily going to be available. I was checking the Corvus Belli website, and it was no longer available. The Operation Blackwind starter set will run you about $130 US or about 125 euros. Obviously, with inflation and changes, maybe a little different. You may be able to get a discount at your local retailer. I don't know, but that's about what you're going to pay. And that's pretty much what I expect from a starter set. I would like it a little bit cheaper. I would have preferred to have just all 10 models, but they've got a system and they've been getting it out of me for at least 7 years now, so they're doing something right. Those are just kind of nitpicky things. Overall, like I said, I think it's a good starter. They give you everything that you need. You get lots of tokens, the silhouette markers, the blast templates. You get everything that you're going to need to play Infinity for quite a while. And at that point, it's just adding on extra goodies because they look cool. So overall, if you want to get into Infinity, I absolutely would recommend any of the Code 1 starter sets. It's a great entry point, and I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. So what do you think? Do you have Operation Blackwind? Do you prefer one of the others? Let us know down in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. But other than that, make sure you're subscribed. I've got more gaming content coming, and don't forget about the Facebook page. So thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.